Okay, here we go again. Welcome to the second part of our tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to show you what gameplay mechanics there are, how to play the game, and eventually how to win. First of all, there are two modes, play casual and play campaign. We are going to play the campaign for now. We click it, and we get into the loading screen. In the leftmost panel, there are a few variables you can adjust. First is AI draws per turn. You will draw 2 cards per turn, but since the AI is kinda a little bit stupid, it gets an advantage and draws 3. You can adjust these numbers. Then there is AI mana increase and AI mana gain interval. Don't get hanged up on what they actually do. Just know middle number up makes it harder, bottom number up makes it easier. And we are already inside the game. On the right hand panel we could have chosen our deck and the enemy deck. You will get the gist of it pretty quickly. Okay, first of all I'm going to show you the F1 menu. We hit F1, we try again, this time successfully. Okay, and as you can see, there are quite a lot of adjustable options here. As you can see, layout and user interface experience are a little bit like my girlfriend. Ugly if I'm boasting, not existing if I'm honest. By the way, I take applications via email, ladies. In the first section, there are a few key bindings that are probably important to you. You can adjust them by clicking on them and setting a different key. We are just going to do that with the explanation level. I already showed you what the explanation level does in the last tutorial. If you have forgotten it, check it out there. And we reassign it immediately because I is the best key for that. And now I'm gonna hide that too. Also note that cancel unselect is also done with the right mouse button. Those keys are the ones you will actually need in the game. The next section is for debugging. You can probably ignore the O and L, the toggle tracing and the refresh zones. Those should work as intended, and if not, those keys won't help you very much. However, the P key is quite important. If you encounter any bug, you can just hit P while you're in the game, and then on your desktop there will appear a folder called Sends to Dev. Please send the contents of that folder to me, or at least the last 4 or 5 text files. They are the debug logs and help me a lot in improving the game and hopefully removing the bugs. Okay, the obsolete section is obsolete. Server side only is no concern of you. Then here in the section debug trace logs we have lots of toggle options. Each of them turns on or off the respective trace log. So if we encounter a bug in stat changes, we can turn it on. It is on right now. You should just leave them like they are now. Unless you encounter heavy lag, then you might try to turn them off, which however will result in me getting less valuable logs. And eventually I cannot fix whatever bug you will probably encounter. Okay, last section is the misc section. There is first of all wiggle strength and wiggle speed down here somewhere. These influence how strong the animations are. I'm gonna show you for a second. We go all the way up with wiggle strength and speed. And you can probably already see it in the background. Very slow, very big movements. I'm gonna show you with this one as well. Yeah, not ideal. We're gonna go back and reset those to about 1. That's close enough. Here, of course, you can as well change the explanation level, which you do again usually with the I key. The dev build option you just leave alone. The same is for dev build load time and deploy build load time. Then all that remains is the AI delay. You can adjust that if you are playing offline, as we do currently. But if you are playing online against humans, leave that one alone. Increasing it makes the AI movement slower, so you can get a little time to comprehend what they are doing. Also, animations are displayed a little bit slower. And we are going to close the F1 menu again with, you guessed it, F1. If you're a very smart cookie, you might have discovered the 2 blinking buttons to the right. The bottom of this blinking button tells you how many cards you can draw this turn. It is set to 2, so you can draw 2 cards. Drawing cards you do from the leftmost 2 stacks. The one to the left is the effect deck and the one to the right is the resource deck. You can distribute your draws however you want, but just be aware you can only play 1 resource per turn. So usually it doesn't make sense to draw more than 1 resource. So we are gonna draw 1 resource and 1 effect card, and as you can see, this button over here stopped blinking, indicating we can draw no more cards. However, the button over it is still blinking. It is indicating we can actually still play 1 resource this turn. Playing cards is pretty simple. You click on them, they start wiggling, and the potential targets too start wiggling. So we play the card on one of the potential targets. Ta-da! You might have seen that the topmost button now doesn't display a 0 anymore, it displays a 2. That is because the resource we played into the field automatically produces mana. That happens at the beginning of each turn or whenever a resource enters the play. The resource we just played produces 2 mana each turn, that is displayed in the top left corner. And it has 5 life, now only down to 4. Every time a resource produces mana, it loses 1 life. And of course it also can be attacked, resulting in loss of more life. The absolute majority of cards require you to pay mana to play them. The cost of the card is displayed inside the star symbol on the top edge of the card. So the card we are currently looking at over here costs 4 mana to play, which means we cannot play it. If you have a card on your hand and you can play it, this field over here will turn blue. So currently we can play this card, the Craftsman, the Treasure Chest and the Pilgrim. Very similar to cost but not identical are the faction requirements. Each card has a faction requirement, which is displayed in this field on the lower edge. Each resource you play provides faction requirement. So the card we played into the field, this resource, provides 1 faction requirement of the Mecha faction. So this card over here has a faction requirement of 3, which basically means I have to have 3 resources of that faction in the field. Unlike mana, faction requirement does not get used up each turn, so I could theoretically play an infinite amount of these if I can pay the mana cost and have 3 resources in the field. Okay, but I just realized I forgot to explain some of the buttons, although they are pretty self-explanatory. The topmost of the red buttons is the lose button, and guess what, you click it and you lose. The one below it you should really not see in the current version you have. It is the win button, which again you click it and you win. Don't click it, especially if you play with friends. Try not to be a jerk. The next one down there is the end turn button. You basically smash it if you have nothing more to play, no moves, no attacks left. The lowest of the buttons is the cheat button, my favorite. It gives you -5 respect, but since I've already at 0, no harm done. You can smash it like the like button of this video. But also I probably deactivated it in your version, hopefully. Okay, let's go over the zones quickly. We already established the 2 deck zones, the one for effects and the one for resources. Then on the bottom we have the hand zone. You have 9 slots in your hand, so you can have a maximum of 9 cards in your hand. Pretty simple. Then on the right side we have the waste zone and the oblivion zone. The oblivion zone is currently not implemented, nothing goes there, nothing comes from there. The waste zone is basically your graveyard. There are cards to go that died or actions you have used up. Also, quick trivia, you can play a card from your hands directly into the waste zone by paying 2 mana. Okay, then we have the big zone in the middle, the field zone. There most of the stuff is going to happen. You play entities, resources and objects into the field. Another thing I should probably explain is the leftmost panel over here. This is the inspection panel. You can click on any card. So I'm gonna click on the Wainwright over here. And then it will get displayed here. First of all, name, subtypes, types, and so on. Then a whole lot of symbols, which I'm going to explain you shortly. And last of all, the rule text. Okay, the first symbol is the cost. Pretty basic, I already explained it to you. So this card has a cost of 2 and a faction requirement of 1. Next stat is the attack strength. That is basically how much damage this creature does. Then life, also pretty self-explanatory. If it goes to 0, the card dies. Then there is the move amount. Most entities have a move amount of 2, which basically means you can move them twice. The next one over here is pretty closely related. That is the attack amount. Again, most entities can attack a single time. Also, be aware that whenever you actually attack, you use an attack and a move. So you can basically move once and attack, or move twice, but not attack. Also, there are some entities that diverge from this formula. They have more than one attack, more than one move, and so on. Then next is the move type. There's just 2, move by foot and flying. Also pretty self-explanatory. If you want to move by foot, you have to have a clear path to your goal. If you're flying, you can just jump behind enemy lines, and so on. Closely related to this one is the one once twice removed over here. That is the move range or move reach. Most entities have a move reach of 1, which means they can move to 1 adjacent field. Some entities have a higher move reach. So our commando over here has move reach of 1, but had it a move reach of 2, it could move directly over here. And with a move reach of 3, directly over here. So I'm gonna go back to our Rainride for a second. Next of these symbols is the attack reach, also pretty analogous to the move reach. So an entity with an attack reach of 2 can attack hostile entities that are 2 fields away. And then the last symbol I skipped because it is a little bit more complex, is the cast type. The majority of cards have a cast type of hinterland, which is explained here in the tooltip. It can only be played onto slots that are adjacent to a friendly card and not adjacent to a hostile card. But there are many variations to this rule, so I'm gonna click on our Pioneer over here. He has a completely different cast type, Outrider, which means he can be played onto any field that is not adjacent to our cards, irrespective if it is contested by an enemy card. A quick word about card types. There are basically 5 card types which you have to worry about. The first ones are resources. We already talked a little bit about resources, but you can basically recognize them by the green fields in the top edges. The top left number shows how much mana this produces, in this case 2, and the top right, how much life it has. Each use reduces 1 life. The bottom field of a card usually displays the faction requirements of this card. However, with resources, it is the other way around. Resources display how many faction requirements this resource contributes. The overwhelming majority of resources just provides 1 faction requirement, although there are a few exceptions. The next card type are entities. Entities are basically the baseline units of the game. They are used to build defensive lines or attack the enemy lines. Often they also have effects, but attacking and defending is their baseline use. Entities are the only type of cards that can actually attack. Then there are objects, as this one, the treasure chest, over here in our hand. Objects are a little bit like entities. They can get played onto the field, but usually they cannot move, cannot attack, although they can be attacked. Objects basically always have some effect. So I'm going to quickly show you what this treasure chest does. It is called Gold Stash, costs 2, has faction requirement of 1, again has 0 attack, 2 life, cannot move, and can only be played onto friendly uncontested fields. Then the effect is Aftermath. Aftermath happens at the end of your turn. You lose all your floating mana and heal this is the Gold Stash, by that much. Then by clicking this red button over here, you can offer that card. Offering means you put it into the waste zone, you basically lose it. You gain 1 mana for each life the Gold Stash had. That is pretty useful, since the normal way it works is you lose all the mana you have remaining at the end of your turn. So I'm gonna click the cheat button now. And then I will draw cards until I finally hit an action. So I successfully have drawn an action by using the cheat button. That is also why these numbers are so high. Just ignore them. Then the action we have drawn is this one over here. Extensive mining operation, costing 4 mana, having a faction requirement of 2. The word in the curly brackets over here is basically the target restriction, anywhere, meaning you can play it onto any slot or card. Then the effects, I'm going to toggle the explanation level so you can actually understand what this means. We have the effect here. So you can play it anywhere and you refresh all resources and produce mana. So basically our land over here, it is exhausted because it produced mana once it was played into the field. And now the expensive mining operation will refresh all resources so they can be used again to produce mana and then immediately produce said mana. And the thing with actions is again that once they were played, they go immediately into the waste zone, so they are fire and forget one use only. And then there is the most important type of card, the player card or the general or the king. I'm not really sure on the naming convention here yet. That is basically the king in chess. The goal is to kill the enemy king and not die yourself. Your king is always marked blue, that is this gentleman over here, and the enemy king, or in this case queen, is marked in violet or purple and she is over there. A king has per default 38 life. You kill the enemy queen by attacking it with your entities until her life goes down to 0. Of course, there are other ways too, such as actions that sometimes do direct damage, but usually the most common way is to attack her with your entities. I am gonna pass turn for now by hitting the E key. And now the enemy AI has taken a turn. So basically they also played a resource and then a simple entity, the bear over here. So I already showed you the color scheme concerning the kings, and now we can see it concerning the regular cards. So our cards have a great outline, a great border, like this resource over here. And the enemy cards have a red outline, so you're always sure which one is which. I forgot to mention about the kings. Of course, each deck can only have one king. The deck strategy is usually built around the abilities of the king. So we look at the enemy queen and read her effect. So her effect is Aftermath, heal each adjacent entity by 1. Aftermath happens at the end of your turn. So at the end of the enemy's turn, she heals each entity around it that is in these 8 fields around her. She heals each entity on there for 1. A quick word about healing. Healing goes beyond the base life of a card. So this bear over here, next turn he will have 5 life, the turn after it 6, it goes up to infinity. And then the equivalent to healing would be buffing. Buffing increases the attack of a card, also beyond baseline. And you have to be careful, buff never works on commanders. Okay, as you can see, this tutorial is probably already quite long. I might record another video of me playing a few games against the AI. That was it. Like and subscribe to keep updated, and see you in the next one.